Welcome and welcome back, everybody, to the OK Grognarn Show. Today is Wednesday, September 24th, 2025, 10 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And we're going to delve a third time, into the first edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeoneers Survival Guide. This time we're going to look at the section on non-weapon proficiencies. So we've been going through ability checks and proficiency checks, and we've been looking at regular proficiencies, and we want to look at non-weapon proficiencies as well. Weapon proficiencies and non-weapon proficiencies. Yeah, just to recap. Ability checks. Roll the number or below of the associated ability. That's first. Then we looked at proficiency checks. In this case, the suggestion is that you roll less than the rating. Rolls less than the rating are successful. Although, I've suggested that if you just want to keep it uniform, you can roll at or below, and that way it's a little less confusing. Proficiencies, we talked about these and how they break down. Easiest way is just to look at that table and you see. Now they keep reiterating through this section that you have to take your weapon proficiencies first, and whatever you have left over you can use as non-weapon proficiencies, but they show you the numbers. They're not just throwing numbers at you. So it's pretty much forces you into a situation where you take those weapon proficiencies first, which is fine, because that's what they want you to do anyway. But it gives you the additions that you get as you gain levels. But non-weapon proficiencies, what we're looking at today, success and failure. Under normal conditions, there is no chance of failure involved when characters attempt to use most non-weapon proficiencies. A boatwright, for example, given all of the tools of his trade, plenty of raw material, and time, is able to produce a boat to any realistic set of specifications. If the same boatwright is stranded in a dank underground cave with a few pieces of rope and whatever driftwood happens to float by, however, he must make a proficiency check to determine whether his attempt to build a crude boat is successful. A proficiency check for use of a proficiency is necessary in two cases: to determine if the specific task is performed within a given set of limitations, as in the boat building example, or to gauge the quality of a piece of work when such an evaluation is desired. A proficiency check is made exactly like an ability check. To repeat, a proficiency check is made exactly like an ability check. The player rolls 1d20 and compares the result to the character's ability score in the area listed for that proficiency. In many cases, a proficiency will be listed with an ability check modifier. See the specific proficiencies. This is a die roll modifier. Thus, a +3 makes a d20 roll of 12 equal to a 15. In addition, as the character uses additional proficiency slots to improve a given proficiency, instead of adding a new one, the proficiency die roll modifier is increased by 2 for each additional slot. When the check is to determine the quality of workmanship, a successful roll means that the work is of superior craftsmanship. The exact amount of success determines the degree of perfection, so that a 20 equals a near flawless creation. If the character sells this product The price earned is from 110% to 200% of what would normally be offered. Regardless of modifiers, when a proficiency check results in 3 or less, the attempt to use the proficiency fails. So pretty straightforward on that one too. The modifiers, the additional levels, if you will, the bonuses gained, all of that are pretty clear. They all fall under, after a fashion, ability checks. So if you want to expand and more granulate how you use ability checks, in essence, then using proficiency checks is possible. If you don't want to use the full proficiency check system, you can, of course, at least read the Dungeoneers Survival Guide, or that table in particular, or the given proficiencies, and see what ability score they're suggesting are tied to different proficiencies. And that can help guide you when you're just determining at the table which ability score check to make. So, is boat building intelligence, or is it a charisma check? Well, some can be pretty obvious, right? Other ones might be tougher to determine. Intelligence or wisdom or charisma in particular cases, which one applies more. What I like to do sometimes is see what the players have decided they're bringing to bear. Because if a character is making a persuasive speech to a small crowd and trying to sway them to do one thing or another, the obvious thing is probably that it's a charisma check. But if the character is bringing a great deal of facts to the fore, then maybe it's less about how persuasive they are and more about their command of the facts at hand and being able to expound upon the situation such that anyone, given the number of facts available, would see that whatever their desired outcome is the way to go. So maybe somebody's on stage and they're trying to convince a crowd to go and do something, and their charisma is what their charisma is. But you know what? They've got an 1890 strength, and just showing people that they're a strong person can be compelling to accept them as someone to follow into battle. Oh, well, yeah, this guy's going in there. He's going to lead us. We got every chance of winning. Sure, well, maybe he's not real smart, but I'll tell you, I don't think he can lose, so I'll go with him. So there's a number of ways that you could bring other abilities to bear. And if the player, through that player character, wishes to bring those different abilities, alternate abilities, shall we say, to the fore in a given situation, maybe you roll against those abilities. Or maybe just because they have that additional thing to the ability, you modify the ability score check. So there's a number of ways that you can adjudicate it as a DM. And reading the Dungeon Master's Survival Guide, and indeed the Wilderness Survival Guide, can help you adjudicate things on a more granular level without actually utilizing a full, more granulated system. That's the point to it. Ability score checks, proficiency checks, non-weapon proficiency checks, all of these things are going to be worth your time to at least read to help guide how you adjudicate. Well, that's about it for today. Yeah, we're about at that time, so let's just say thank you very much to everybody. I see the Vince himself is in the chat, and thank you very much for being in there. It's always appreciated when you get a chance to pop in. There's some others in there, but they haven't revealed themselves. But there you go. Today was a look at the 1E advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeoneers Survival Guide section on non-weapon proficiencies. And you know this show streams live on Twitch each Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central, and then it's archived on YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, make comments, all of that fun stuff. We love constructive criticism. It's always very much appreciated. And you can also support the channel even at the free level by joining us on the Patreon. And there's a free level, so, no harm done if you want to just join just to say, hey, I love the show. Tom Tullis of Fat Dragon Games is a supporter, as are Carlos Lysing of Castle Entertainment, Heath Varnon under the Andy D&D 20, Dave O'Brien, Unauthorized Users, Death Angel Shadow, Heidi and Eric Gygax Garland of Gaxland, Vince Ragusa of the Maroon Room, who was in the chat today, a wonderful prog rock band, Daniel Caldwell of Griffin and Gargoyle, Christian Garcia, Stephanie Lesniewski-Gruchow, Cera Toppilopkus, Colin Szablewski, Shane Bradley, as always, the DM extraordinaire. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.